Well, I'll probably never find them.
Yeah.
If no one's seen them, there's no witnesses or anything.
Or no, nothing, fingerprints or nothing like that. Or no articles, that there was one guy broke in a woman's house and broke in the house and raped her and everything, and he lost his pocketbook, and his pocketbook was found in her bedroom.
Oh, his wallet?
His wallet, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's how they got him.
Huh.
He left the house and his wallet was in her bedroom, but she was dead.
She was dead?
Yeah.
Oh, brother. Yeah, he really goofed up there.
Well, he lost it. His wallet probably fell out of his pocket and he didn't know it. His address and everything, and cards were in the
Yeah, all his identification.
identification cards. Driver's license, automobile driver's license.
Well, you got Tampa down here, which is
Oh, Tampa's bad over. I wouldn't want to live over in Tampa.
Yeah, I've never even been over there. Actually,
I forget whether one area over there is real bad. A lot of Negroes and things live there, and a lot of crack dealers live around there. And a lot of these are street gangs, that kids that belong to gangs.
Yeah, probably neighborhoods you don't want to go in.
Yeah. Around some of the malls around there right now, it's not safe to go in them at night.
Oh, is that right?
You come out of a shopping a store and go way out in the mall, dark mall, and get in your car, you're liable to run into somebody that run into muggers. If you was bringing out your shopping, your stuff and everything, they take everything off you and disappear.
Well, they prey on the older people.
Yeah, they stand around and watch, and older people, and people that park away out in. A lot of people have a tendency to they park away out in the building to get away from somebody damaging their car,
Or maybe get a little exercise.
Yeah, or something. But and a lot of these malls and things they're not lit enough, but when they're way out, but they're really close in, they're lit up. But way out, maybe about a block away. It's kind of dark. See, well that's a place you want to steer clear to, and sometimes even in daylight it's not safe to walk way out there.
Oh, that's pretty brazen.
Oh yeah, the people that have been robbed, their possessions taken away from them right in just broad daylight, right in the shop with a lot of people around.
Because no one else is going to help them.
That's another thing down here. A lot of people that there's been murders and things, and here not so long ago there was a woman in a place there. She was screaming for help, and they killed her. And people heard her screaming and things, and they didn't pay no attention to it. And some of them just raised the window and looked out, and then shut the window and didn't even bother calling the police.
Oh.
That happened up in New York. There was a woman that I forget how far she'd run, and knocking on doors and everything, and screaming, and the guy was after her and finally killed her. And nobody would come to her help or even call the police. That happened up in New York.
Yeah, they don't want to get involved.
And this woman was desperate. She was really fighting for her life. No, but even see, a lot of people take the idea it's none of our business, I don't want to get involved. See?
Yeah. Well, they're worried about getting hurt themselves.
Yeah.
Too. I guess that's a natural fear.
Oh, I don't know. This world is getting, I don't know.
Pretty tough. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be when I was a boy around my neighborhood, we never locked the doors. You could walk into anybody's house around, but nobody ever walked into anybody's house.
I don't think we locked the doors on Williamsport Road.
No.
Did we?
No. We'd go downtown, shop, and leave old King in the house, maybe there in the door. You could walk right in the door.
Yeah.
But everybody around, and we never had no robbery. You never heard of anybody getting their house robbed.
Well, if there's anyone in the neighborhood, you would notice it.
Yeah.
Any strangers.
Yeah.
Of course, back then there weren't any drugs to
No.
speak of.
Oh, you never heard of anybody drugs when I was a kid.
Yeah, or actually, or when I was a kid either.
No.
Some kind of crazy movie, huh?
An old movie that's 1941. It's in black and white.
Lots of jungle drums.
Yeah.
That's when people thought those things were exotic.
But when I was a young kid, you could walk around the streets and up the alleys, and I used to walk home from Elizabeth clear up to Jefferson. And sometime at night, coming home, walking home, I'd go over to the movies, or I'd go over to Margaret's house and see her, and I'd walk home maybe at around midnight, and I'd walk clear from Elizabeth, clear up through West Elizabeth, clear up through Jefferson, clear up along the road up there almost to Jones's over there, and I never see nobody.
Well, I used to hitchhike at night, which no one would do today.
Well, I never seen anybody hitchhike. Nobody had a car in them days, you know.
Oh, yeah. That was a pretty long walk.
Yeah.
Did you have a bicycle? No,
No, I didn't
bicycles?
even have a bicycle. It was maybe about 3 to 4 miles, maybe 5 miles.
Yeah. So you were
I
visiting?
walked clear from Margaret's house over in Elizabeth, clear across the Elizabeth Bridge,
Yeah.
and up through West Elizabeth, up through Jefferson, clear up there towards almost to Flora and Jones's there.
Yeah. Is that Jones's Landing, or what's it
Yeah,
called?
we lived up there right above on the other side of Jefferson,
Yeah.
about halfway between by Flora and Jefferson. We lived up on the hillside on the house up there.
Yeah, I know that area because I used to drive by
Yeah.
there going to the chemical plant
Yeah.
when I worked at the
Yeah.
chemical plant. I think I only got 2 tickets in my life, and one of them was up there for going through a red light.
Yeah. You went through a red light.
Yeah, I didn't see it or something. I don't know what the reason was. There's a policeman right there. And then the other ticket I got was in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good record for 30 years.
And the only policeman we had around was old Bald River Byers, an old constable.
Yeah.
He was about 70 or 80 years old.
Yeah?
That was the other police. He was the policeman for the whole township around there.
Yeah, well, you didn't expect there'd be much happening. I mean,
No.
right?
Yeah, mostly if you had to it was the local police of the town, like Jefferson or in West Elizabeth had police. But and Elizabeth had one policeman. But mostly, if you wanted to, you called the state police.
Oh. Well, you had a phone, didn't you, in your house?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I remember the first phone we ever got when I was just a kid. The first time we had a phone, we had one of these phones that still on a stand, like you had to pick it up like this and take a.
Oh, it was on this black stand with a little hook on it?
Yeah, and it had a receiver you had to hold up to
your ear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it had a rotary dial.
Then you put the receiver back on a thing there, and that disconnected.
Yeah, I remember those. I really do.
And you called the operator and gave her the number.
Yeah. Like Mima was 25.
Yeah.
I think, in those days. And we had a number that was 177J.
Yeah.
Out in the country. It was a party line.
Yeah, you had party lines. A private line was unusual. I mean, people have party lines. Sometimes it would be, what they have a party line and maybe, and you had a certain ring.
Yeah, like 3 rings.
3 rings, 2 rings, or one ring and a long ring, 1 short ring and a long ring.
And of course, people would listen in. I mean,
yeah,
listen in.
You could hear pick up the receiver, and kids would listen in.
Yeah.
And kids would get on the phone.
Yeah, then there was no.
Then they had the first phone that I used to have was on the wall. It was like a box, and you had a ring. You had to ring. Had a little crank, and you had to ring the operator.
Yeah, it was like a little generator.
Yeah.
And what that did at the back where the operator was, a little thing would come down.
Yeah.
And then she would plug into that.
Yeah, that's right.
So it would trip this little thing.
You gave her the number you was good, and she plugged it in another circuit, and that plugged.
And she made it plug. Yeah. Then she took the other end of that and plugged it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then would ring that circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she would say, "1 moment, please."
Yeah. I remember that phone. Then we used to have a phone down in Jefferson there. When first phones come around there, they had a phone placed at a certain place, and everybody used it. Have one of these little crank phones.
Oh. In the house, you mean, or in where?
No, outside.
Outside.
Yeah. And the long distance call, you had a number. You gave the operator. That's how you were billed for a long distance. They'd send you a bill in for how long you talked. Some of these other places you had to put a nickel in, let's see, or a dime in. And then it let you talk 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, that sort of came later, didn't it? The coin phone?
Yeah. First one was a nickel.
Yeah.
Then a dime.
Yeah, I think I remember the dime.
Yeah.
Because that was a dime for many, many years.
Yeah, oh yeah, for many years before it got a quarter or something like that.
Now it's 2 dimes or a quarter.
I remember when the first electric lights come around. When my home up in Jefferson, where we lived, we had oil lamps. It's like this here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Wasn't the house kind of smoky or because of those lamps?
No.
They burned pretty clean?
Yeah. I always, my mother always made me. We had a gallon oil can, kerosene, white kerosene.
Yeah.
And she always made sure that I always kept that full. I would go to the store, and it cost a quarter to get it full.
Oh. And then you filled the lamps?
And we put the lamps, and I used to have to. My job was to trim the wicks of the lamps and get them and fill the lamps up for the night. And maybe we'd have 2 or 3 lamps around on different tables around the lamps like I would go. And I'd have to take the globes off and polish them, clean them. They get smoked up. Yeah.
When you went to bed, what did you?
Oh, we turned the lights out.
Yeah, but how did you get back to your bedroom? Wasn't it dark?
Well, so maybe we left one burning, but we on a table we turned it way down low, or we had some people just had a one of these. You've seen a lantern?
A lantern.
They keep a lantern hanging someplace to give light. And the toilet you had was outside of the outside toilet, maybe about from here to that house over there, away from the house. You had to walk out there to that toilet and freezing cold night.
Didn't you have any chamber pots or anything?
Well, some people did, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember sometime having to go out that toilet, wind blowing, cold night, go out there and sit in that cold toilet.
Yeah, in the winter?
In the winter time, yeah.
Well, actually, Carol had an outhouse when she was first married.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have an indoor, she barely had plumbing.
Yeah.
Hard to
And I remember when we got the first toilet put in the house up there in Jefferson, boy, that was a novelty.
People come by to use your toilet.
First car we had, I won one on a raffle. It was an old Essex.
Essex?
An Essex sedan.
Wow.
ESS.
I've heard that name.
Essex, that was the name of the car. It had a little 4-cylinder engine in it.
Air-cooled or water-cooled?
Water-cooled.
And who drove it?
I learned to drive it. I was only about 16, 17 years old. One time, I drove my grandfather, my mother, and Willa, my sister, to Gettysburg. We went to Gettysburg to see the tour of the battlefield.
In that Essex?
Yeah.
It had been quite a journey.
It had old tires on it. You had to pry off and get punctured. You had to carry a kit along with it to patch the inner tube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very common to get a flat.
Oh yeah.
Because the roads were.
Well, those nails and everything all over the roads and horseshoe nails and stuff like that. Punchers. There's nothing to get a puncher.
Yeah, and then I know you had to have the tools to change it.
And then you had to have a jack to jack the car up.
And then tire irons.
Tire irons to remove the tire from the rim. So you could take the tube out.
Well, see, that was common all even through the war, World War II.
Yeah.
When we went to Lake Erie, we carried all that stuff because you couldn't get new tires.
Yeah.
So they were always blowing out. Well, I guess the worst thing would be a blowout.
Well, that would sometimes disable you. Yeah.
Yeah, because your tire then would give way.
Yeah.
And you couldn't fix the tube; it would bulge out, right?
Yeah.
Big hole.
Because I was in the Merchant Marine, we used to get more gas than other people got, and also on our for sugar and stuff.
Yeah.
And I used to bring home cans of butter and bags of sugar from off the ship when I'd come home.
Oh, I see. Little treats.
Yeah. On there we had just a big supply. So I used to ask the steward for that stuff. I put it in my suitcase and bring it home. A can of butter, maybe if it was 5 pounds of butter in this can, sealed in the can. See.
Mm-hmm.
Your mother then used to have butter and sugar when nobody else had it around.
That's a real luxury.
But it wasn't bought. It was I brought home from the ship. And I used to bring pop cigarettes and tobacco. I used to bring off the ship for him because the cigarettes were rationed,
Oh yeah, I guess just about everything was.
Yeah, you were only allowed a carton maybe a month.
And then what, they send the rest to the servicemen?
Yeah. I used to get a carton of cigarettes on the ship for 45 cents.
Wow, they're about $14 now.
Yeah. So I used to bring him home sometimes 3 or 4 cartons of cigarettes.
That was during the war.
Yeah, during the war. Yeah. And I come home when my ship come back to the United States, and I come home on leave.
Well, where did it come in?
New York and Philadelphia, and Norfolk
But how did you get to Pittsburgh?
by plane
Oh, is that the plane that used to come into the
to
Allegheny
the
County
county airport. Yeah, I remember I bumped a woman off with the two kids, and I felt when I was going back to my ship, you know, I had a priority, first class priority.
Oh, so you could get back to your ship?
Yeah. And so I could bump anybody off. If there was no seat on that plane, I could bump them off. I had a card. It was a top priority.
Well, I guess the ship was going to sail.
Yeah.
So you had to be there.
I had to be there, and I was the chief, first engineer and chief engineer sometimes. It was very important that I be there. I felt so sorry for this woman at the time that I had to bump her off, and she was crying because she was left behind the plane. She was going to go to New York, and she had two kids with her up at the county airport.
Yeah. Do you remember what the airline was? What the name of the airline?
TWA.
Oh, even in those days?
Yeah.
TWA. But those were were they DC-3s or?
DC-3s.
Yeah. Which is a pretty small airplane.
Yeah. So it carried about 15 or 20 passengers or 25 passengers.
Well, I've flown in DC-3 a number of times.
Yeah.
I guess the last time was maybe 8 years ago.
Oh, I've had some rough rides in DC-3s that have come back. Boy, one time I come back from Philadelphia on a plane, and we run into a big lightning storm, and ooh, boy, I'm telling you, that plane did everything but turn flip-flops.
That's when people used to throw up a lot.
Yeah.
Because the plane was...
I remember the pilot telling us, says, buckle everything, told the stewardess that was on the plane, make sure everything was buckled in, because we was going to get one hell of a rough ride. And the lightning was, you could see cracking her all around us, you know. And the clouds were black, and you go through the clouds and they're black. Man, and I remember that plane would go up in the air, you know, and then all of a sudden drop, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then she'd turn up on the side, almost vertical on the side.
Yeah, they really tossed around a lot more than
just,
today's planes.
Sometimes it just was like this.
Mm-hmm. And you could hear that motor, of course, humming away.
Yeah.
Not like a jet, but reminded you more of a car motor, hoping that it would keep going.
Pilot had to be a pilot then.
Oh, yeah. Because he really flew the plane.
Yeah. It was always sometime there. One plane I came back one time from Philadelphia. It was there was no co-pilot. It was just a pilot.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. There's a mailman out there.
Oh.
Let's see what. Yeah. I remember that very well. I looked up there and I thought it was co-pilot, but no, it wasn't. It just one pilot.
Well, they don't do that today.
No, you have to have a co-pilot.
Because in case anything happened, the guy had a heart attack or something, your plane would be done.
Even some private planes, people don't fly. They always have somebody on the plane too can fly the plane. I seen here not so long ago where a woman and a man was and he had a heart attack, and the wife was they had to talk her down. She'd handle the plane a little bit, but she never made a landing. So they had to get a good pilot and get up alongside of her on the plane, and they had to talk her in.
Yeah.
But she made a bumpy land, but she was able to get the plane on the ground. Her husband had a heart attack.
Well, what was there, a little kid recently?
Yeah.
You saw that on TV?
Yeah.
That flew across the country?
Yeah.
I mean, he was 8 years old.
Yeah, and they had to put the books in under his seat, and they had to put the extensions on so he could reach the blocks on his feet so he could reach the steering pedals. He was only 8 years old.
Yeah.
But his dad was with him.
Oh, was his dad with him?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
His dad could fly the plane.
So in case of
anything. There was dual controls on the plane. But he was actually flying the plane and landing the plane.
Yeah, I saw the landing.
Yeah.
It was a little bumpy, but
Yeah.
not that bad.
Well, I got to get the mail.
Mailman comes early.
Yeah. Some days he comes there, sometimes he doesn't. Come there this afternoon.
So he ended up suing
They
him.
kept talking and talking, and then he sent a bill for him to him for
And he won, right?
and yeah, went to court and won.
He had a lot of solicitors.
Judge ruled in his favor that they had to pay him, that he'd warned them.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Kelly Ray with the One
Yeah.
Children.
Yeah, I think it's all these solicitors are preying upon.
The fact was that the judge ruled because the call wasn't solicited. I mean, it was unsolicited. And he had talked to him, and while he was talking to him, he warned him what his charge was for his phone.
WTVT.
They kept on talking.
Proud to sponsor One for the Children.
And he seemed to have their address and their business and everything, and he sent him a bill for it.
Hi, I'm Don McCann. That time of year when Jack Mark's
Great.
Had his lawyer send him a bill for it.
And he won, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Had a hearing before a judge.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The guy that was soliciting, he protested and demanded a hearing before a judge, and the judge ruled in favor of the guy with the phone.
Because the guy had all the evidence. He had a recording and so forth.
Yeah. There's a piece in the paper about it.
But ever since I've been here, I think there have been 4 people called soliciting.
Yeah. Oh, it's bad. So sometimes it's a nuisance.
It is. It's an invasion.
Yeah. They tie up your phone too. See, somebody maybe is waiting to call your phone. I mean, somebody or your own people can't call because the phone's busy.
Inside edition. On the inside, it's a whole different.
Like Linda would got a call, and she'd be called the way up there. She couldn't get us here because somebody was on the line here talking to some solicitor.
Yeah. They're. I think
See, the phone belongs to us, not that guy solicitor. He's conducting his business on our phone.
sometimes they people that have facsimile machines get all these faxes they don't want.
Yeah.
And garbage fax.
And a lot of them will all talk real fast, see, so that you can't get, stop him talking, or you can't break in.
I guess what you do is you hang the phone back up.
I hang up, brother.
Yeah.
That's when they start, when they start pressure, I told one guy one day, I said, right now you just made one, putting pressure on me to make a sale. I said, that was your downfall. I says, goodbye.
They don't care. Of course, people.
And then a lot of people calls here with soliciting. They get paid so much. A woman or something was calling. They get paid so much for making each one of them calls. See, whether they sell anything or not.
Oh yeah, but then they get more if they can close the sale. They get a commission.
The word spa is being used to describe low-fat food. The idea of a spa goes way back. The ancient Romans had mineral springs and they loved them. They were fascinated by the idea that the waters came up hot out of the center of the earth. And because the water contained so much salt,
Okay.